Hey guys, what is going on? Carter here. Got another review for you. This is on another sweet tactical folder coming from Cold Steel. It is old. It is not new. It is the Cold Steel Spartan. Now this thing has been out for a long time and I picked up my third one in my knife collecting career and I could not be happier. This features some changes that took place with the 2015 year, and I'll talk about those changes, how much I love this knife, why I think it's still cool, why I like to put it in my pocket, and why I think it's a great value for people looking for this kind of knife. Now, I'll go ahead and talk about some of the specs just so we have some frame of reference. This is a 4.5-inch blade, almost 4.5 inches. Almost 10.5 inches long, about 10.25 inches long. It is huge. It is a monster blade, and it is wicked. It is badass. It is really cool. You can see the sweet recurve, the very exaggerated recurve on this blade. 4.5 millimeters thick, I believe. So the same thickness as in the XL series knives that Cold Steel does. Thicker than just the standard Recons and things like that. Nice thick tip. You've kind of got this swedge up on top, which gives it a little bit of a dagger grip with all this belly. This thing is a cutting, supreme monster beast. CTS BD1 steel. That is the first thing they changed with this knife this year, 2015. Upgraded to American-made steel. Now, if you have qualms about buying an overseas-made knife, this may lessen it a little bit. This steel is made in the U.S. by a company called Carpenter. No, they don't do carpentry. That's just the name of the steel company. They produce a whole slew of sweet steels, including the CTS XHP, which is on the next tier up from this knife. So this steel is definitely a increase in productivity and quality over the AUS-8, not as much as the XHP steel, but the BD1 is no slouch. Really nice stuff. Second change they made to this knife, and probably the one that I like the most, is they moved away from that crappy bead blast and went to a beautiful stonewash you can see right here. Now the bead blast, I don't like the looks of bead blast. It doesn't look like steel to me. It looks like it's made out of plastic or something. I don't like the way it looks. And especially I don't like the way it rusts. When they bead blast it, it creates little micro pits on the surface of the steel. Water gets in there and it just rusts like crazy. You have to take so much extra care, more care than you should have to take care of bead blasted steel. You can see how much of the blade sticks out of the handle. All this is exposed kind of to sweat in your pocket and water in the air and humidity and things like that. So it was a real bummer having to take extra care to take care of the AUS-8 bead blasted steel when you really shouldn't have to. So this stonewashing eliminates that. It doesn't create a surface that is prone to rusting. So very minimal care on this knife. It is a stainless steel and it is not going to rust on you like that bead blasted AUS-8 would. So that is the two changes they made to this knife. Everything else is the same. Same handle, same material, same design. Everything else is the same. You have the awesome triad lock right there. Thumb disc deployment, which you can use to wave the knife out of your pocket, and it works really well on this. You have the polymer handles right here. This isn't just plastic. This is polymer, something akin to a Glock frame. It is a glass fiber reinforced plastic. So it is a lot tougher, a lot stronger. It's resistant to heat, things like that. It is not messing around, so to speak. It is good quality stuff. Has aluminum liners in there, which I hear are heat tempered. I don't have for sure on that, but I hear it's heat tempered aluminum. I'm not quite sure what that does for the aluminum, but it sounds like it's cool. It sounds like it gives it a little more strength than you'd expect. Like most Cold Steels, it's held together extremely tough. You can see it's got 3 screws on each side, and if you've ever taken a Cold Steel apart, the tolerances are insane. You can see how centered that blade is. You can take this thing halfway apart, still open it up. It is not, the blade isn't going to wiggle. It's not going to shift around. It is quite the sight to see. If you have a Cold Steel, try taking it apart and you can see how tightly everything fits together. Really nice. Now, one thing that I love about this knife is it just kind of fits that overbuilt, overusable Titanic of a knife category, but at a very reasonable price and with the strongest lock out there. This thing is kind of like a Strider in terms of what its function is. You can use it as a defensive tactical type blade, or you can just use it as a pry bar slash chopper slash throw anything at it and it'll take it, especially with the upgrades that they've done. It is a really, really nice knife. Now, it is pretty freaking heavy. You can see how much steel is on this blade, how thick it is. That grind, 3/4 of the way up, flat ground, or actually a light hollow ground blade. So it is very thick behind the edge though. So that edge is going to be very strong. Might not be the very best slicer, but it is going to be very strong. 9.1 ounces. So it is heavy, but it is so much fun to carry. One of the things that I really like about this, I know I've said one of the things way too many times, but another thing that I really like about this knife is when I take it out of my pocket and I show it to non-knife people, friends, colleagues, people I meet, whatever, their eyes just light up. Their eyes light so huge. They think it is the coolest knife they've ever seen. Out of all the knives I show them, I can show them titanium frame locks with lock bar inserts and M390 steel, acid stonewash blade, all these frills on there, and it doesn't do what this knife does. It doesn't blow their minds and make them think that is a badass knife like this thing does. And that helps me kind of stay grounded in the knife world. It's easy to get jaded, to see the latest and greatest thing, the latest finishes, the latest steels, whatever's popular, bearing flippers that everybody seems to be making, and you think that's cool because it's new. Everybody's into it, and you kind of forget what got you into knives in the first place. This kind of stuff is what got me into knives in the first place. Really cool knives. Knives that are pretty much as far away from my dad's knives as I could get. Because when I was a kid, it was all about the buck knives, you know, the old-timer knives, the traditional knives, which I have come to enjoy and come to love. But that's what I thought of when it came to knives. So when I saw large tactical folders, it took me to a whole nother place. And seeing people's faces when I whip this thing out of my pocket really kind of brings me back to what got me started in the knife world in the first place. So that is one of the reasons why I really like this blade. It is freaking wicked. It is badass looking, and yet it's still usable. Here is an Emerson Commander full size. You can see how it gets dwarfed. And the reason I'm comparing these two is you can see the obvious recurve correlation right there. This one being far more aggressive than this one, but you can see how much insanity is in this thing, how cool it is. I love this knife. I'm going to keep this one. I'm not going to sell it. I've sold the other two, partially for stupid reasons and partially because of the things I didn't like about it. The bee-blasted blade, the Os-8, stuff like that. But this one is staying in my collection. I love it. I'm going to carry it. Beast of a knife. Now, if Andrew Demko came to me and said, Carter, 2016, we're going to make some changes to this knife. Do you have any suggestions? I would definitely have a few. I definitely would have a few. First one being, I would like to see, and this is just pure fantasy world, I like this knife as is, but there are some things I would change on it to make it kind of perfect for me, and that is in the handle design. I would like to reduce some of the extremes in this handle. I would like to kind of tone this down, basically tone the handle down a little bit. Make this a little more straight. This whole like locking in thing is great, but it's a little more extreme than I would like. You could get away with a lot less, making this a little bit wider right here, maybe a little wider right there. But more importantly, shave off this horn, which I know a lot of people do in the aftermarket. You can see how it's not necessary. The tip's right there. You could easily just shave off that horn right there. Kind of makes it a little less obnoxious, maybe, I want to say. I hate saying that word because, like I said, I like the knife as is, but I would kind of like to see the handle toned down a little if I could. But aside from that, love the thing. I like the way it looks. I like the way it's designed. It's based off of Andrew Demko's, I believe, Kopis folder, if I remember correctly. It was a triad lock custom knife that he made, very similar to this. And I think Cold Steel actually came out with recently a fixed blade Kopis. And you can see the similarities with this, with the handle shape and the recurved blade. But of course that is a machete and this is a folder. A big, badass folder, if I must say. So that's it, guys. Just a quick look at the 2015 changes to the Cold Steel Spartan, and also revisiting why I really like this knife. It's easy to kind of forget what sets you off in knives with some of the cheaper ones. Oftentimes I'll look at my collection and say, hey, if I sold all 10 of these, I could buy a custom or something like that. And I'm trying to keep those feelings and those ideas at bay because I like having a collection. I I like having a lot of different knives, and this one is going to stay with me. So give me a like, give me a comment, give me a subscribe. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know how you feel. Let me know what you think about this video. Let me know what you think about these knives. Let me know what you think about this knife. Let me know what you think about anything. Just leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up, give me a subscribe. I'm out of here. Later, guys.